All right, folks, welcome. The 2020 Camp Walter Newbie orientation. This is one heck of a weird year. We usually have like this in-person gathering where everyone comes together, and we used to meet in the studio long before it was, prettied up the way it is right now. And it was loose wires and missing floor tiles and all sorts of fun stuff. Definite safety third location back then, and Kirk would give his inspiring speech and we'd all be crying, and then we'd get down to business and we'd cover some of this stuff. So I figured I'd take this opportunity today to just run through a real quick introduction. I want to try and make this as quick as possible. I'm recording it, so it'll be available. I'm going to give you guys a whole bunch of links at the end of it so you can go back. A little bit about myself. I was lucky enough to find Burning Man pretty early in life. Not my life, I'm old as dirt, but in Burning Man's life. I started going in 1997. And the way it happened was my boss walked into my office on Monday and said, "Hey, who wants to go to Burning Man?" And so we packed on Monday, left on Tuesday, and that was it. And we roll into the Playa, $40 a ticket, no perimeter, just a couple of guys hanging out in a shade structure, checking tickets on the way in. It was awesome. And this photo is the man who was 40 feet tall, but on straw bales, and that's how it was. We'd take our dinner out there and go sit on the straw bales, watch the sun go down, and eat dinner. I started working with Camp Walter much later, in 2013, I think it was, when we built Calliope. And so Calliope, if you haven't seen her, is just an amazing sound system built inside a 40-foot container with lights, smoke, fog, lasers, everything. So a little bit about Burning Man and what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to set some expectations of what you can expect on the Playa, which is, and then I'll cover food, clothing, and shelter, the basics, some health and safety stuff, some tips and tricks about getting there and back and what to expect, communication on the Playa and what options exist, and then decompression, which is you come back after this week of craziness. How do you settle back into normal life? And then I'll leave for as long as you want Q&A at the end of it. So you'll hear this from a lot of crusty old burners with Playa dust in cracks that we didn't know exist. It's not a festival, and you are not a spectator. You are a participant. You make this happen. One thing I loved about joining Walter and burning with Kirk and Mary and stuff is they will tell you, this isn't Walter's setup. This is your setup. When you invite people in and you encourage people to come and participate, this is our car. And this is our DJ and our sound system. Come on in, enjoy yourself. We're not the cool kids on the Playa. We're there to make things fun for everyone. When we ride around in the art cars on the Playa, we're not trying to be the aloof crowd who are better than everyone else. We stop at like some random person walking across the Playa and say, "Hey, you want to ride with us?" And it's awesome. You meet some really crazy people. You meet some really interesting characters, and you have fun. You meet people you've never met before. Radical self-reliance is a huge part of this, and that's why I wanted to go through this with you folks so that you kind of can prepare for what to expect and not, get out there and find that you forgot critical parts that'll make your life on Playa miserable if you didn't bring them with you. I'm not going to go over them, but you're probably aware that Burning Man is based around 10 principles. I'm going to post a link to this presentation, and I've linked out to that. One other thing I wanted to bring up was in Arizona in particular, but this is becoming more and more of a thing, consent. It was always an unspoken given on Playa, but we're being more focused on this and being more intentional about it. And what I'd like to just mention here is Thaddeus, who's one of our campmates, has taken on the responsibility of being the camp representative for an amazing group on Playa called BED, the Bureau of Erotic Discourse. And it's a group I've worked with for a long time. I've been an ambassador for BED. And they talk about stuff that we don't normally talk about. And thanks, Thaddeus, for saying hi, and thank you for taking this on. I'm not going to go into detail about this, but Thaddeus, correct me if I'm wrong, Monday at 5 p.m. On Playa, we're going to have a little camp gathering, and we get to talk about this stuff. Great place to ask questions. You know, one of the things that kind of seemed obvious after talking about it, but wasn't before, was, hey, you want to decide, well, now's the time I'm going to try this whole bondage thing. Well, you don't meet some dude on the Playa and go back to his RV and try it out. No, that's not the way you do it, because that's pretty much setting yourself up for something that you really don't want to happen, because you're going to have nobody to reach out to if things head the wrong way. No, you find a camp that does this sort of thing. It might be a little weird. There'll be other people around, but you know you're safe. You know you're amongst a group of people, and you come up with your safe word, which is not no, which is not stop. It could be rutabaga. Something that you wouldn't normally say. These are things that you'll learn. Have fun with it, try it out, whatever, but do it safely. I did also want to talk to you a little bit about Playa distances, because this is absolutely insane. So this is kind of the layout of Burning Man. You'll be coming in through the 6 o'clock road, and then you'll take one of the perimeter roads, and you'll come in. We're going to be at 8 o'clock, and the Esplanade, which is like the 90210 of Burning Man. You're on the Playa, beach frontage. This inner circle is coveted real estate that is handed out to camps that have earned the privilege of being there. You'll see concentric circles going out, and those are, you start off with Esplanade. I never remember street names, but they are alphabetical, so it's A, B, C, D, E, all the way out to whatever the last road will be this year. The radial streets, 6 o'clock in the middle, 10 o'clock on the left, 2 o'clock on the side, so you can easily, give a person a location and say, I'll meet you at 5 and D. The chances of that person remembering to meet you at 5 and D at a particular time are slim to none, but you do have the ability to give out a location if you need to. Some of the distances to keep in mind, it's pretty much the inner circle is about a mile across. And then going way out into deep Playa, if this is a mile across, that's about 3 miles to the very end of the Playa. The man is right in the middle. The temple will be the next big structure down. And then there's a whole bunch of cool stuff way out there. So check it out. Again, this link is over here. There is a Burning Man ultra marathon. I don't have any details about it, but for all you crazy people who want to run ridiculous distances, they do have a marathon. I don't know anything about it this year. If anyone knows, please share. All right, couple of things. How are you going out there? You're probably in tenting it or driving out in an RV. If you're tenting it, you're either taking a van or an SUV or driving alone, and you're going to have your car packed up like the Beverly Hillbillies. And but if you're ride sharing with friends, if you're ride sharing with strangers, there's some things you want to talk about. If you're going in an RV, talk ahead and find out what people are bringing, because if one person shows up with half their house, you're going to start having problems when you're trying to pack on the day before you leave. Talk about your shower and the built-in toilet in the RV, and how you're going to use that. Because yeah, you can, if you wave large wads of money, flag down one of those dump trucks to come and pump and dump your RV. It ain't the easiest thing to do. I can tell you, you're waving cash at them and they will choose whether or not they're going to come and pump out and empty out your RV. You won't have a way to refill your water, your fresh water on Playa, unless you booked it months ahead and prepaid again at some exorbitant rate. You complain about airport prices, they got nothing on Playa. Playa prices are very, very expensive, and they get worse as demand increases. So what I would recommend if you're in an RV is use your onboard toilet for late night business and emergency stuff, but use the porta potties, make use of that. They clean them multiple times a day. They're not too bad. Now, a little bit of advice on porta potties. The porta potties are on the streets going out, and there'll be several different banks of potties. The ones closer to the inner Playa tend to get a little more high mileage than the ones further out. I call the ones further out the residential potties. So if you're looking for a nice clean potty, take your bike, ride down to the second bank of potties, and they'll be pristine. You'll often find camps take over a potty. They'll decorate it. They'll put potpourri in it. It's really nice. So, we want to take care of the morning business, go all the way out there. It's worth the ride. Just plan ahead. There'll be porta potties on Playa, and they have these dinky little blue lights on them. In a sea of lasers, lights, and stimulation that you wouldn't believe, visual stimulation that you wouldn't believe, they're near impossible to find. You kind of need to figure out what big landmark they're near to, so that when you're out on the Playa, you can find a potty. Plan ahead. That's all I can say for that one. All right. Let's see. A few other things with RVs. Talk about guest privileges to your RV type of thing. The more people you have traipsing in and out, the dustier it's going to get inside, and the more cleaning you're going to have to do before you return it. What's the deal with visitors? Is it okay to bring a person in? If you're sharing an RV with somebody, is that okay with your RV mates? What about you meet the love of your life? It's really not love, it's lust at that point, but you can convince yourself otherwise, and you bring that person home. Is that cool with your RV mates? And do you hang your underwear on the door outside when you're making the beast with two backs? You got to come up with that plan so that there aren't any surprises at the last minute. And be considerate, and don't try to do an all-night session with a stranger while your RV mates are trying to get some sleep, or worse, trying to get into their RV. Dust proofing is really important. You're most likely renting it either through Cruise America or someone else, and tape down everything you can. A lot of these older RVs will leak from the window seals and stuff like that. On our way in, on our drive into Playa, we typically, I'm going to mute somebody who's making a little bit of noise there. Okay. We on the gate road in, we take painter's tape and we go over everything on the outside. You climb up on the roof and you got your air vents. You seal those things down nicely. If you're bringing bikes, figure out how you're going to bring them. There's not a lot of room inside the RV. Many places will put a lock bolt on the trailer hitch because they don't want you pulling trailers without paying the trailer fee. I've talked to Cruise America and they've unlocked it. I've taken my bike rack and it's a hitch mount rack, mounted it on it. They've been cool with that. The biggest thing with whether you're carpooling, whether you're in an RV, whatever, don't assume anything. Always ask, talk about it. That's the safer way to go, rather than assuming things, being disappointed, and then getting into a huge fight at some point in time. You'll hear about the Wednesday meltdown. It's not necessarily on a Wednesday, but typically it'll happen on a Wednesday because you'll come in on Sunday, you're a kid in a candy store. You party like a rock star. Monday, you see daytime and it's awesome. And you party again. And then Tuesday, you start getting tired because you have slept 3 hours. You haven't drunk enough. You're getting burned out. And then every little thing starts to become irritating and you snap. And we've had people have meltdowns. We've had people get to the point where they've wanted to leave the Playa on Wednesday. I've driven folks out, and that's actually a really good decision to make at that point, because if you're on a downward spiral and it isn't working for you, it isn't going to get any better. You need to know when to pull the plug, and that's unfortunate. However, you can avoid that by planning ahead. Many of us, 23rd year going out there, I've been tenting it all my life. I would love to do an RV. They're expensive, and I don't want to spoil myself and never be able to go back. So I've done everything from nylon tents to what I have now, which is a Kodiak canvas tent, which is this little rectangular thing here. You'll see a lot of those out there. My last nylon tent was this setup here. It was a two-dome setup with an interconnecting tunnel, and you'll notice this, what looks like aluminum foil. It's called radiant barrier material. You can buy it by the roll. If you're tenting, particularly a nylon tent, consider purchasing and using this stuff. I put it on the east side and over the top because I want to shield that sun from getting through that wafer-thin material. And I can tell you that when my feet stick out beyond where the radiant barrier covers, I feel my foot burning and have to pull it in a little. Now I do the canvas tent. I do, actually, I should post a video of my tent setup, but I have Aluminet, which is this flexible, meshy aluminum shade cloth over the top of it. I don't use a shade structure, works beautifully. And I love, and if you're going to come burning again and again, reconsider this for a future tent if you don't have one, the ability to stand up in the tent, night and day from the old days of hunching over and trying to get around. Swamp coolers used to work for many years, but Playa's just gotten a heck of a lot hotter in the last, particular, I'd say 10 years. I use an AC now. Many people do. We are very fortunate that our camp has a camp generator, and you pay in. That's probably the most expensive part of Camp Walter, is renting that generator and fueling it up. Gas, fuel on Playa is $20 a gallon. So you complain about what we're paying here, it ain't nothing. Remember I said airport prices? Airport prices are cheap comparatively. I also have, shades are great. Shade structures are great, but you try and take an easy up onto Playa, that thing is going to get shredded with the first strong wind that comes through. They just buckle, bend, and you'll be splinting it and duct taping it to hold it in place from there on. If you get one, it's got to be really strong. You've got to have really good tie downs on all four corners, holding it in place and stabilizing it in winds. Some of us are talking about 2017 when this microburst came through and ripped anything that wasn't, seriously bolted down. Speaking of which, we tend to use either rebar or lag bolts that are long and they sink deep into the Playa to anchor anything down. The swap meet style shade is probably the most popular. This type of thing. They're really good. You can put tarp or more often shade cloth on the top of it. They're configurable. Camp Walter has a bunch of it, and that's our communal shade. If you're going to do shade on Playa, that's a good way to go. All right, let's see, anything else I want to cover? Oh, Shiftpods. I forgot about Shiftpods. They're really neat, easy to set up, super quick to set up. A little expensive, a little more expensive than, and kind of hard to get at this time of the year because all those crazy burners keep buying them up. But that's a good option to look at for a future date if you don't have one now. Definitely these days, if you're tenting it, Shiftpods or Kodiak style canvas tents are really the way to go. All right. Clothing. Naked is an option, but think long and hard about it, because there's parts of you that you don't want to get sunburned. And guys, down there, it ain't pretty. If you are going naked, if you're going topless, whatever it is, fine, just wear a lot of sunblock, especially on the areas that don't have natural sun protection. Where at a 4,000 foot elevation, there's virtually no shade around unless you brought it in with you. And the other thing to remember is these days everyone has cameras and they're going to post those pictures. So if you are a teacher, if you are a government worker, if you're something, you're in a position where you don't want naked pictures showing up of you on the internet, exercise appropriate caution. Daytime loose fitting cotton, like flowy, whatever, works really well. If you're wearing fishnet, remember that you're going to get a fishnet tan. It's kind of cool, but you're going to get that tan. It's going to stay there for a long time, and you're going to laugh every time you look at it. Layers at night are important because temperatures will drop from 90 to 70 as soon as the sun goes down, pretty much. And then it's kind of nice for a long time, and then there's a sudden magical time at which a switch flips and it becomes freezing. It might be 3 a.m. in the morning, it might be 1 a.m. in the morning, but this happens. And so carrying a coat with you or some sort of warm clothing in your hanging off your backpack, that's really important. Faux fur is really popular, and hats. Daytime you want shade, nighttime you want warmth, particularly if you are follically challenged like me. I have no insulation up here. So hats are really important. Lights are essential at night. You've got cyclists, you've got people on e-bikes, you've got art cars, and they're just, some of them are driving way too fast. You want to be visible. You want to be visible from behind. You want to be visible from the front. And so a lot of people attach lights to their clothing, to their camelback or whatever they're carrying. You'll hear the term dark quad. It's a term we use for people who walk around assuming they can be seen without a single light on them. Please don't be a dark quad. We like you. We want you to survive. We don't want you to get hit by somebody. Dust masks are pretty much a given. Walk around with them. I am fortunate that I don't have any breathing problems and stuff like that. I buy a whole pack of these. They're neck gaiters, and I just use them once and put them in my laundry bin, because and I'll carry about 2 or 3 of these with me in my backpack, and I can use them anytime. If I hit a whiteout where it's really thick dust coming in, I just wet it and it becomes a cool filter, and it gets really muddy and crappy, but I don't care. I'm going to put it in the wash, not reusing it. Goggles are essential, whether they're motorcycle goggles, ski goggles, whatever you want, you're going to need these. I have tinted ones for daytime, I have clear ones for night, always carry them with me. One thing you'll notice though is, like, you'll be in a whiteout and everything's all dusty, and then it'll seem like the whiteout has ended and everything's still dusty. Well, that's because you've got dust on the inside of your goggles and the outside of your goggles. So remember that. But goggles essential. If you wear contacts, I'm not a contact wearer. Do be careful. You don't want to get dust in between your contact and your cornea and scratch it. Consider bringing your glasses, your prescription lenses too, in case it gets a little too difficult to wear your contacts on Playa. All right, let's see. Costumes. Don't buy into the hype that you have to wear elaborate costumes to be a real burner. One of the most amazing contributors to Burning Man is this guy named David Best. He made the temple, the very first temple, and many after that. He stands there in his polo shirt and jeans and a gallon jug of water, and he's done more for Burning Man than most of us ever do in our lifetime. So, but costumes are fun. I love costumes. And, you know, my buddy from Sweden, he used to come over with 3-piece suits and a briefcase. His briefcase would have ice and beer in it, but, you know, he'd walk around in his 3-piece suit and a briefcase. When you're making costumes, Moop is a term you're going to hear a lot about. Matter out of place. It's basically trash. Glitter, feathers, boas, things that anything that sheds, don't bring that stuff. Check it out, shake all your clothing out, make sure that nothing's going to be falling off of it. Thrift stores are a great place to do shopping, and I think I've said this before. Pretty sure I'm on a watch list because the women's section in thrift stores are way more fun than the men's section. Men are very boring with their clothing, and so I get all my skanky ass pants from thrift stores, and then I wash them with everything, every chemical I can find, and then wear them. But yeah, definitely wash them before you wear them. Shoes, boots or not, I see people walking around barefooted, and those must be the hippies that walk around when it's 120 degrees outside and 300 degrees on Arizona asphalt, and they can walk because they have leather on the undersides of their feet. I have delicate feet. I wear shoes, I wear boots, and socks. I change my socks out regularly. I bring at least 2 per day. Well, realistically, I have a little more than that because I might change it out during the day and then once more at night. If you do like to, it's beautiful to walk on Playa. You'll be so tempted because it's like talcum powder. It's so wonderful. Especially if you smoke a joint and then you start walking on Playa and it's like walking on the moon and it's awesome. If you do that, come back and clean your feet. You really have to clean that Playa off. It's very alkali rich. I have watched people's feet in 3 or 4 days crack and bleed because they didn't pay attention or they're walking around in flip-flops. Please take care of your feet. It would suck if you couldn't walk after getting yourself to Burning Man. So please take care of your feet. All right, let's see. Next. Oh, food. Okay. I know people who eat food out of, like, you know, they take cans, they open the can, they stick it on the stove, they heat it up, they eat it. They eat hot dogs and oh God, I can't do that. You can eat for sustenance, you can eat for pleasure. I eat for pleasure. And I get so hungry on Playa. The basic options are canned food, dry food, stuff like that. Just add water type foods. It's not too bulky. You don't have to refrigerate it. MREs are military issue food that you know, I remember opening a packet that had 1970 as the manufacturing date. I would caution you that you can survive off of them. They're terrible. The chemical burp that you're going to get off an MRE that happens about an hour after you eat it is heinous, and those burps keep going, and they do nasty things to your poop. You can see the color change from real food to MREs. Too much information, but anyway, freeze-dried foods, on the other hand, that you can pick up from camping stores and of course Amazon and every place else, they've really come a long way. It's powdered, dehydrated food. Just add hot water, soak it, rehydrate it, and it tastes like food, and it is food, and it's tasty, and it looks real. That's an option. Gets expensive to eat freeze-dried food packets for 3 meals a day for as long as you're out there. I prepare before Playa. Prepare everything before Playa. So if you're buying a box of cereal, take the box out and just take the bag with you. If you're taking dry food that you're going to cook there, dry food that you're going to cook there, discard the packaging so that you're not hauling that stuff back, but keep the directions. I made that mistake, and I took these lovely packets, and I had no idea what to do with them, so it was an experiment. It was good. It came out okay. All right. What I do these days is I pre-cook my meals and freeze them, and so like leftovers, as you can see, that's my freezer right now. That's 5 meals right there. And people store them in different ways. Ziplocs I've tried and never been able to successfully seal them. They always leak because you're going to have water in your cooler as your ice melts, and water is going to get into and contaminate your food, and the food's going to contaminate the water in the cooler. I, a few years ago, started using the Snapware stuff. Costco's got a multi-pack for $20 right now. And I have 2 of those, and I take these little single meal size Snapware containers. You can float those in water, they won't leak. They're awesome. You've got to bring your own utensils and plates, even if you're doing meal plans and stuff like that with other people. That's always the polite thing to do. I like paper or plastic, right? That's always the question everywhere we go. If you bring reusable, you've got to wash that. You've got to make sure that there isn't any, leftover food that'll go bad and give you the runs the next time you eat off that same plate. So if you're using reusable, you need to factor in that you're going to have to wash those plates and then reuse them. Or you can go with paper. And I've gone with paper because I use it, I eat my food off it, close it up, put it in my trash can, scrunch it up. I also use wooden chopsticks, disposable wooden chopsticks. Eat my meal with that, don't have to worry about cleaning it. I bring a couple of spoons and forks just in case I'm eating something that requires that, but I found I can eat pretty much anything except soup with chopsticks. Now, this, I cannot emphasize this more, keeping your food safe and uncontaminated. Where pooping in porta potties, you don't want to get the runs when you're out on Playa. You absolutely don't. A friend of mine did this. He mixed his food and his beer were in the same cooler. His raw steak that he brought out to the Playa to cook, well, a little bit of that blood leaked into the water. Not enough for him to notice it, not after his 10th beer. And he was happily opening beers and drinking it. And the necks of the bottles were contaminated. And he got the runs. And it wasn't a fun visit to Playa. So please, 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 I recommend a food cooler and a drinks cooler. Your food cooler is going to stay closed, except when you're taking food out or putting food back in. Your drinks cooler is the one that has, and sorry, with my food cooler, you can do dry ice. That's awesome. It'll keep food, like I've kept ice cream until Saturday and eaten it with dry ice, but it's very finicky. Any liquid that hits that dry ice, it sublimates, it becomes a gas, and it's gone. It's just gone. I've switched over to block ice, and what I do with my first block is I get one of those, I think the brand is Crystal or something. It's a rectangular bottle, and I put it in the deep freeze and I freeze that. That's my first block of ice. And my food's packed around it. It stays super cool. I leave on Saturday. It usually lasts me till Tuesday. On Tuesday, I drink that and put in a block ice from the Camp Arctica, which is the ice camp on Playa. Let's see. And the last thing, people, you might think you're camping and get a little lazy with this stuff. Wash your hands. You just went to the porta potty, you touched a doorknob that God knows who touched before with what disease. Wash your hands before you eat. Just do what you do at home, or what you should be doing at home. A little bit more about food. Some of us do meal plans. We get together with a group of friends. We take turns cooking one meal for the whole group, and then we get the rest of our meals in exchange. Takes a lot of communication and planning. You got to watch for dietary restrictions, allergies, preferences, stuff like that. But it's super fun if you can make it happen. I covered airtight and safe before. These are pictures of my coolers, my actual coolers. And what I did is that what used to be called Coleman Extreme Coolers, they were the hot shit 20 years ago. They really aren't that great. They claim to be 5 days perhaps if you're camping in the Arctic, but but not so much on the Playa. Now, adding a layer of insulation, and what you're looking at here is the windshield sun shield thingy that you can buy, and that and a roll of duct tape. And this cooler's probably been out to the Playa 15, 20 years. Yeah, and it still goes. It goes really well. I have what are they called? Rotomold coolers. That's the new, like the Arctic and what's the other brand that's, you know, you're paying $500 for a cooler. Those are awesome, but they have super thick walls. So even though they are heavy and huge, they don't have a lot of capacity inside. I have a Rotomold cooler that I took out to our regional burns because I was driving out in my car. That's not an issue, but when space is an issue, I still go back to my old Coleman with the ghetto insulation. We got a lot of people. We don't all have to bring stoves and gas and stuff like that. Try and find a group of people and say, hey, let's share a kitchen. You know, bring a primary stove, bring a backup stove, bring one, you know, you can use those little green cans of Coleman gas or buy the adapter and take one of those 5-gallon barbecue 20-pounders, and they'll last you probably the whole burn, but have a backup plan always, a primary and a secondary stove and extra gas. I mentioned bring your own U-turn. I repeated a lot on this slide. Okay. All right, health and safety. Want to keep you alive, and we want to keep you having fun. One of the biggest causes for a downward spiral on Playa is dehydration. He says as he takes a drink. Water is essential, but water and electrolytes are important because you are sweating out there and you don't know it. We're Arizona people. This happens to us here. It's so dry that the sweat evaporates. So you don't feel, it's warm, but you don't feel like you're sweating and losing fluids. You're losing fluids, you're losing salt. Water, obviously, I drink probably 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons, but I like to roam around in the daytime a lot and stuff. If you're nocturnal, you may not need as much. But I also make sure to drink, you know, I used to take Gatorade, but that thing is just sugar syrup. And, you know, at a certain age, every little piece, all the sugar stays around my belly. And so I'm a little more conscious of sugar. And so I take emergency packets, drop them into a glass of water, drink it. Caffeine and alcohol are diuretics. Don't tell me that you've drank 4 cans of Coke, so you're good to go. They drain you. They do drain you. And one of the things we always say is piss clear. That's how you can tell whether you're hydrated or not. If your pee is yellow, you are in trouble. Drink before you feel thirsty. Caffeine and alcohol will mess with you because you'll start peeing clear because it's voiding your body of fluids, and you'll think you're peeing clear, but you're actually draining fluids from yourself. So balance it out. I'm not saying don't drink. Trust me, I drink, but I also balance it out with water, and you end up peeing like a racehorse, but it's worth it because you don't die. If you're taking medications, particularly prescription medications, things like, I don't know, stuff that has dual purpose in recreational worlds, take it in your prescription bottle with your name on it so that if Popo stops you and searches you, you can show that it is legit and this is something prescribed for you. And bring everything you may need. Maybe you haven't had, I don't know, an incident with whatever happens to you for a long time. You're pushing yourself on the Playa way beyond what you do in normal life. And that's when you're going to trigger things that have been dormant for a while. If you need meds for something that hasn't happened for a while, just take it to the Playa just in case. It's not like you can go to your neighborhood CVS and pick something up. Now, I'm going to talk about the hospital and med tents and stuff like that in a little bit, but it's worth planning ahead yourself. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a COVID contingency plan, particularly if you're riding with other people or sharing a tent or RV. What are you guys going to do if one of you ends up showing symptoms on Playa or tests positive? How are you going to handle that? Come up with a plan. Particularly with the, I mean, let's say we all go out there and somebody gets infected on Playa or develops symptoms on Playa, tests positive. We're not going to leave that person out there for 10 days. You know, we're going to take that person back with us. So we've got to figure out a plan on how that's going to work. So talk about it beforehand, come up with a plan. I've been harping about this. Guess what happened to me on Saturday? I started coughing. I got a cold. I was like, damn it. Must be the winds and stuff like that. Well, shit, I tested myself and I'm positive. So I immediately called around to everybody I was with and let them know. But it happens. 2.5 years I avoided this shipful disease, and I get it 10 days before I leave for the Playa. Thankfully, it was super mild. I was good by Monday when it comes to like no symptoms, nothing now. But I'm going to test and I'm following everything. I'm vitamin C and doing all that fun stuff. The other fun disease we have to play around with these days is monkeypox. Well, the Thunderdome's an awesome place. You grapple with a person inside there and it's skin on skin all over the place. Maybe the year not to do Thunderdome is this year, but consider it because who knows where that other person's being or mashed up with somebody else. I mentioned hospitals, and I got a different slide on that, so I'm going to talk about that when I get to it. Sex in the Playa, it happens. It's been known to happen. Many people who haven't gone to Burning Man think it's one big orgy. It isn't. We find time to do other stuff too. All right, I joke. I've been married for 26 years. My wife hates the Playa and the idea of it. I'm absolutely fine. I've never felt any pressure to have sex on Playa. And but if you do, safety first. Please don't meet the love of your life who has God knows what and pick something up on Playa. Be careful, exercise appropriate caution. And I mentioned the Bureau of Erotic Discourse. Attend one of those sessions. It'll give you a lot of insight that'll help you not only on Playa, but back in the real world. If you are somebody who happens to enjoy recreational substances, I always say, and this is not Playa, this is anywhere, know your pharmacist. Don't buy it from the random guy on the street corner. Do not buy or offer to sell or give drugs on Playa to anybody you don't know, because there are undercover cops out there, and they'll come and hang out with you. They'll be dressed up like burners. They'll be dusty ass, drunk, whatever looking. And at some point they'll say, "Hey, anybody got any party supplies?" And you say, "Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye." And send them on their way, because they will get you. The other mistake that people make is marijuana is like in Arizona and Nevada, it's recreational now, not on BLM land. Bureau of Land Management is federal land. It is not legal. Don't wave your medical card. Don't say it's just not legal. Now, walking around and blowing smoke at a cop is going to get you busted. They are very, very your tent is your home. You can refuse entrance to it, but don't all of you, sit around in a circle and pass around the cigarette in plain view of the, the street and people walking by, because some cop will see you and that's probable cause. When you're driving in, don't have your roaches in the cup in the center console in case you get pulled over. And by the way, I'll talk about this in a minute, but they'll use any excuse to pull you over. So, and then all they need is to bring their dog, and the dog, blinks the wrong way, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, the dog triggered, we need to search your car." So watch out for that. The Playa has 80,000 amazing, well, mostly amazing people. There will be shitbags out there. There have been instances of roofied drinks. Friends of mine have woken up not knowing where they were, what happened, they've lost time. It happens. Exercise the same caution you would in any club that you go to. Don't leave your drink unattended. Don't take candy from strangers. One of my buddies is, this gung-ho, badass Green Beret. And this was earlier on in Burning Man years, and he accepted some brownies that were nicely laced with, I don't remember what it was, but he was tripping balls for a day and a half after that. Be careful. If somebody offers you food, even if it's, campmates, friends, ask, hey, is it leaded or not? Find out before you try it. All right, if something goes south, or if something's heading south, your friends are the Black Rock Rangers. They are not cops. They are not law enforcement. They are burners. They are burners who volunteer to help keep our city safe. They often will interface between you and law enforcement if they need to. They are not there to babysit you, but they are there to help you if you are in need. If somebody's freaking out, somebody's consumed too much of something, call a ranger. They will bring in medical, they'll bring in psych if needed, they will call an ambulance for you, they're on radio. They are your friend. Don't lie to them. If you know what the person has consumed, tell them everything the person has consumed. That might save that person's life. So Black Rock Rangers. The next level would be mental health on Playa, and there are various different levels of that. There are certain rangers who are green dot rangers. They're trained to handle psych situations. Somebody OD'd on, somebody ate a handful of mushrooms and now turned into this lump of jello, and you need some help, and they don't know what they're doing. Call a ranger. They'll call in a green dot ranger. Somebody's freaking out because it's Wednesday and they haven't drunk enough water, and call them in. There is a place, there's a camp called Zendo that'll help people who have consumed way too much acid or whatever, trips it basically, come down off whatever they've consumed. There are crisis intervention teams that handle everything from mental breakdowns to sexual assault. Again, rangers can hook you up with and make sure you get to the right place, or whoever needs the help gets to that right place. I mentioned the MASH hospitals. So there are 3 main locations. Again, we're looking at the Playa. We are right about here, which is 8 o'clock in Esplanade. Just down the road from us in 2 directions are the emergency medical services at the 9 o'clock plaza, and the MASH hospital at just to the right of Center Camp. It's at about 545 and Esplanade. There's ranger headquarters in both locations also, by the way. But if somebody needs an x-ray on Playa, all of that's covered. Now, there's ambulances on Playa. So if somebody needs to be picked up from your camp and driven to one of the hospitals, they'll come out in a bus, in an ambulance, load you on a stretcher, load the person on a stretcher, take them there. I have unfortunately had to take friends to medical, and they're fortunate to come out of it okay. If you need to be Medivac to either by ambulance or helicopter to Reno, you're paying for it. Anything on Playa is free. But if you get Medivac'd out, if you're that bad, you're paying for it. There is, I'm going to add a link here to this place. If you have concerns about this, if you have underlying health problems that may kick in, I have a friend of mine who's going through chemo right now, and she still wants to come out to the Playa because she's going to live every second of her life. She decided to go for this. She opted for this medical evac coverage. It's $50 for the burn week, and then you can also get it for the full year if you're you travel a lot, but it'll cover your whatever's not covered by your insurance for a Medivac or an ambulance ride to Reno, to the hospital. Let's see. Law enforcement. There is a lot of law enforcement out there. I've had wonderful, wonderful experiences with law enforcement, but I've had one or two who pulled me over on bullshit reasons. And they quickly realized that I was polite, and they realized I wasn't stoned or drunk or anything like that. Let me continue on my way in. Be super careful. Speed limits, and I'm talking about Phoenix to Playa now. When you're hitting towns, typically we drive Phoenix through Wickenburg, through Vegas. Then the stretch from Vegas to the I-80 is a whole bunch of nothingness. You'll want to do 100 miles an hour plus on that. When you hit a town, those towns will start off with speed limits going 65, 55, 45, 25, all the way down. You want to be doing that speed before you hit the sign, because there will be cops hidden waiting. They pay for a good chunk of their annual police station budget with kind donations from burners driving through at this time of the year. Don't become one of those people who are donating money. Drive slow. If it's 25 miles an hour, drive 24 until you get through that town and you get back out. And you see the sign that says 55 miles an hour, 300 yards ahead. Wait till you reach the sign before you speed up. They will look for reasons to pull you over. There are parts where there are certain areas where you go through reservation land. Same deal there. The rules don't suddenly disappear because you're driving through reservation land. There are towns through the reservation where the speed limit is 15 miles an hour. Do 14 or less. On the Playa, once you come in through the gate, it's typically 10 miles an hour when you're going through the gate road. And once you're in the city, it's 5 miles an hour. Don't mess around with those speed limits. Doing 11 miles an hour will give a cop a reason to pull you over, and then they'll go through the whole rigmarole and want to search your car, pull everything apart, bring out the doggies, whatever it is. I mentioned undercover before. Watch out for that. Oh, serving drinks on Playa, if you're working the bar, card people, ID people. And if they don't have ID, offer them non-alcoholic beverages, because they will send in undercover people to try and get drinks. I have a packing list that has grown over the years. And somebody drew over this. So how do I clear that? Oh, never mind. Anyway, is it under annotate?
No, that didn't.
There you go. There we go. All right. This packing list is long. It's a spreadsheet. You can, shit, I don't want to be in annotate mode. Give me my mouse back, remote. No. Really, you'd think that after all these years,
So click the X on the little pop out with the tools.
Thank you, Adrian. Okay. It's a spreadsheet file. You can make a copy or you can download it, make it your own, edit it, delete the ones you don't want. I've got some links out there to things that are there. The one thing I want to point out is staged and packed. My dear wife gives me a section of my house to start collecting my landfill worth of stuff that I'm taking out to Playa. When I move it there, I check it off as staged, and when I transfer it into the RV or the trailer or whatever I'm traveling in, that's when I check off the packed. I print this out and then I check everything off. One year I was probably 6-7 hours into the drive, and I get a call from my wife saying, "These 6-gallon water jugs that are in our driveway, was that something you needed?" So I stopped off at Walmart and bought more, but yes, that was something I needed, and it got as far as the driveway and not into the vehicle. All right, so packing list, that's good. The day bag is pretty awesome. You're going to carry, I would recommend something like a Camelback, water bladder inside, and some storage room. This one's pretty awesome. I always carry snacks. I carry some toilet paper. Now, the toilet paper in the porta potties, it has to be single ply, so carry that. But every so often, in an emergency, they are out. It's always good to have some with you. Pen and paper to leave notes for people, to exchange contact information, camp locations, your goggles. You might be going to the porta potty at noon. Carry that bag with you, because that 5-minute walk to the potty might turn into an 8-hour adventure, because this amazing art car came by and they said, hey, come on, join us and let's go for a ride. The next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and if you don't have this bag with you, you're in trouble. The masks always in the bag. Carry sunblock, carry Purell, snacks I mentioned, medication. Like I get headaches, migraines sometimes, so I always carry my migraine medication with me. So that pack is an important part of your life. Make sure you get it set up and you take it with you. Driving, this is obvious. It may seem obvious, but on the way there, you're so excited you want to get there, and you feel you can power through it. And yeah, those indentations on the side of the road have saved many a life. Sometimes you're so exhausted that they haven't. You will. It's really sad, but you're going to see vehicles that have flipped over on the way back, particularly. So do be careful. Okay, I will come and chat with you in a few minutes.
Ruby, did you get her a dog yet?
I did get her a dog. She has a dog. The dog hates me, but loves her. So yes, we do have a dog. All right. So sorry, getting there, you're all excited. Getting back, depending on what day you're leaving, you're probably going to be exhausted when you leave the Playa. Depending on how bad the traffic is, it could take you 6 to 8 hours to get from camp to the road, which is just a few miles. And so you're going to want to change drivers. You're going to want to stop when you're tired and rest. One time I was driving with just myself and one other person. Both of us were exhausted on the way back somewhere in Nevada. And we didn't want to stop in the middle of nowhere, because like all you can think of is Rutger Hauer and the Hitcher and somebody coming and killing you when you're stopped on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. So we found one of those bunny ranch places, and we pulled into the parking lot there. It was well lit, and we slept like babies until we were ready to go. Please stop and get some rest when you're tired. Find a safe place to pull over, find a gas station, something, and get some sleep if you're tired. Do not push yourself. Getting there is important. Getting home safely is important. There are long stretches without gas. Look at a map, and depending on what mileage you get, you'll be surprised at how heavy those RVs or vehicles pulling trailers, how much gas they use. Gas up at every possible opportunity and make sure you're driving with ample gas to get through those long stretches. Get your car checked out. This is something, particularly with rentals or borrowed trailers and stuff like that. You need to make sure that those tires, even though they look solid, are not dry rotted. Take it to a professional, take it to a tire shop, get them to inspect those tires. One year, Wendy, myself, and Jackie were riding out to Playa, pulling a massive toy hauler with a Tundra. We had 3 blowouts on that route. Thankfully, they all happened one at a time, and the trailer had 3 wheels on each side, so we were able to continue. But that was just, the tires looked great, but the owner hadn't. I don't know if you know this about trailer tires, but every so many years you got to change them out, whether they look good or not. Convoys are a great way to go, because you've got if you break down in the middle of the nowhere, there's somebody else there with you. Pros and cons with large convoys is herding cats and getting people to leave on time, and 15 pee breaks instead of 5, because everybody's bladder is on a different schedule. So there are pros and cons. I would always recommend, if you can, convoy with at least one other person.
Ruvi, just really quickly on that note, I found a workaround to that is to add multiple people on Find Friends if you have an iPhone. That way it's an unofficial convoy. If you break down, somebody's coming up right behind you. They're only an hour away. It's a really easy way to do an unofficial convoy.
Good point. That I'm going to cover that in a minute, though. One thing to be aware of: Verizon has pretty decent coverage all the way there. T-Mobile, when I leave Vegas, I have massive stretches of nothingness, and I only get coverage in town. So if you can find somebody who's got T-Mobile, that's great. Same with Playa. I'll talk a little bit about that too. I'm going to mention this, and this is Scotto is the burner I know who's gone almost as long as I have. It's 1 year short of me. He's been a regional, he's a meta regional for Burning Man. He's a rock star in the Burning Man community. And he put together this set of directions, all the stops, the gas stops, what to watch for, which roads not to take. Google Maps sometimes routes you through some weird. I remember the first year we went, it wanted to route us through California. So I-10 to LA, up the 5, Sacramento, and back. No. Print this out. Check it out. I will. The links to all these will be there. It's worth a read. Now, don't show up early unless you have a work access pass, a WAP. If you do show up before midnight on Saturday, they're going to put you in the D lot. The D lot is the punishment lot. And they put you there and hold you there for a few extra hours after gates open. And they say, now go on your merry way. It's not bad. It's not the end of the world if it happens. Just try and time it to get there early. Getting in varies. Some years it has been heinous. 1 year there was massive rain, 2014. We had a thunderstorm on Sunday. Playa closed down for 24 hours. There were people who took 36 hours to get to camp. So have food in your car, have water in your car. Even if somebody else is bringing the bulk of your stuff out there, make sure you cover that. 2019 was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Somebody who understands efficiencies started running gate. And that screwed us over because we showed up expecting a 6-hour wait to get from dirt to the gate to tickets. And we cruised in, and we were there in probably 30 minutes. And so we got shunted off to D lot. They were super nice about it. We parked in D lot. They said you can get out and walk around. If you need to get will call tickets, just remember where you're parked. This is your row. Go get your tickets and come back. And then they held us for a few hours and then let us in. It was super efficient. After gate, you'll hit greeters. Greeters are gate are the people who check tickets. They'll search your RV. They'll look in every cubbyhole, see if you're trying to smuggle somebody in. If they find you smuggling somebody in, the entire vehicle gets sent back. If there's one person with no tickets, the entire vehicle gets sent back. Don't give people rides. Make sure the first thing I do when everybody comes in is a physical check of tickets, or if it's will call, the printout with your information to pick up your will call ticket. Exodus is the process of leaving Playa, and what time you leave is night and day difference on getting off Playa. There'll be a mad rush to leave Playa immediately after the man burns. There'll be a mad rush to leave Playa immediately after the temple burns. In the wee hours of the morning, like 4 or 5 a.m., that's probably the easiest time to get off if you're heading out on a Sunday or a Monday. Some of us don't have that luxury. I have to be back at work on Tuesday. My crew are going to pack up on Sunday and go for the temple burn. And as soon as we feel we're done with that, which is a whole different conversation, it's an amazing burn and a very emotional burn. But as soon as we're done with that, we're going to head back out to the vehicle and hit the road. We expect to spend hours in that line at that time of the night. So watch for peak times. And Burning Man Radio, BMIR, they'll let you know what wait times are like, so you can listen in on that and also head out based on that. Just remember that a lot of other people are listening, so when they say wait times are really short, you'll see a whole bunch of cars heading out towards the exit. I think we're almost done. What do we have here? Oh, we talked a little bit about phones on the way there, but phones on Playa, don't depend on them. It's gotten better over the years. If you've got Verizon, you're pretty good. If you've got AT&T, you're okay. If you've got T-Mobile, slim to no chance, and any of those other smaller carriers. Service before Saturday and after Monday is a lot better when there's a lot fewer people on Playa. But once burn week starts, don't depend on it. Your GPS and stuff will work, but phone, pretty dodgy. I take a photograph. I have my lock screen be Camp Walter, 8 and Esplanade, my name, and a photograph of what I look like on Playa. So that if somebody finds a phone and happens to be walking near Walter, they can come and say, hey, do you guys know this person? And hopefully, it's amazing how many good people out there, and you'll find stuff returned. Or if you find stuff on the Playa, there's a camp, is it Playa Info, Danny, and at Center Camp that you return lost and found? Can't remember. It's a camp in Center Camp that you take stuff to, you log it in, and they will try and find the owner for that. Even cameras that are lost, they'll print out the, they'll pull the digital photos off, put them on a Flickr account, and if you can find your photographs, you know they've got your camera, you can reach out and get it. Walkie-talkies, digital with sub-channels are probably the best option. Just remember that the FRS walkies, which are the cheap ones that you can buy, under the best of conditions, have about a mile range. But they're better than nothing. What we typically do is, if we're going around in a group, just agree on a meetup location, which is either an art structure that's easy to find, or the most recent place we were all hanging out at. So whichever way you want to do that. Not 100%, but if somebody needs to reach you in an emergency, there is a way that you can give your loved ones this this link, and they can message, and they'll try. Somebody will try and get a message to you. So I had a friend whose child was in hospital, and long time, but they wanted to go, and they gave this. They'd always give this out to the family that was staying behind. Sorry, when I say child, it wasn't a little kid. It was a much older child who was in hospital, and she would pass this to their family, so that if in case of emergency they needed to be reached on Playa, they could be reached. The Playa itself, protecting it is essential. That's how we get to come back every time. We leave the Playa cleaner than we find it. You'll find out on Sunday when we are on our hands and knees sifting through dust. Bring work gloves, bring knee pads if your knees are like mine. And we collect everything. We gather sequins, we gather hair. You wouldn't believe how much hair we gather, and everything that's dropped in and around our camp and 200 feet out. Water is a no-no on the Playa. Don't pee on the Playa. Don't think you can shower and let your water run. Don't throw your gray water on the Playa. Evap ponds, if you've got the space, you put a top, a non-porous piece of plastic down, a couple of 4 2x4s to make the wall on the side. You pour your gray water in there, it'll evaporate. It'll get muddy and icky, but it will evaporate pretty quickly. If you have an RV, bring a tub to put under the black and gray water valves, because they sometimes leak. And if your vehicle has any oil leaks, put a tub under that engine or wherever that oil leak is, or drop cloth or something that won't leak that oil onto the Playa. We are super lucky at water. Sven and Jimbo are building a camp shower stall. I don't know what it looks like this year, but typically what it's been in the past is those giant cube 250-gallon liquid containers with a shower stall on top of it and a janky A-frame ladder that you never want to try and climb if you're drunk. Loosely attached to it. Bring your own shower water. Buy a solar shower bag. Google it up. You can pick them off Amazon for about $20, $30. Just a word of caution with those things. You put your water in that. You leave it out in the sun. At Swaroman, which is our regional burn this year, I left it outside, and the water was 120 degrees according to that cheap-ass thermometer built into the side of it. It was a nightmare to shower. So make sure you put your water in a place where it gets a little bit of sun, but not all day sun, because it's going to get super hot. All right, let's see. Oh, dust, wind, microbursts, and rain. Rain hasn't happened much. 3 or 4 years in all the years I've gone. When it rains, it's awesome if it's a little sprinkle. It keeps the dust down. It is really amusing to walk in, because this stuff is like clay, and you end up being about 6 inches taller as the Playa platforms build under your shoes. If it rains really hard, we are screwed, because the porta potty trucks can't come and clean the porta potties. So what many of us do is we bring a Homer bucket that is our gray water bucket, and we've got little trash bags that fit in there. And if it happens that we can't use porta potties, that's going to become your potty. You do your dump, you tie up the trash bag, and you take it home with you. But it's better than pooping on the Playa. I mentioned the gaiter that I wear. Scarves are popular. Cut up old t-shirts and use them. If you've got breathing problems, consider buying one of those heavy-duty respirators with interchangeable filters. If you've got asthma, if you're triggered on stuff, if you're recovering from COVID and you're still having breathing problems, consider buying a respirator. You can get them for about $20 off Amazon. Make sure you've got some extra filters and you'll be good. Wind is heinous on Playa. Camp Walter tries to surround our camp with RVs as windbreaks, so that really helps some. How well that works varies, and these microbursts with funnel clouds that come through, they'll come through anything and rip stuff up. So stake everything down. One of my first years, we were breaking camp, and I had my rebar and stuff, and took everything out, emptied the tent out, and this twister came through, and next thing my tent's flying. And it went up about 30 feet in the air, and everybody was cheering as I ran my naked ass down the street, trying to chase my tent and catch up with it. Fortunately, it didn't hurt anyone. I mentioned easy ups are easy downs. If you're bringing one of those out there, just secure it down really tight. If your RV has a rollout shade, only roll it out when you're seated under it. If you're walking to the porta potty, put that away, because that microburst would come in minutes and rip that thing apart. That photograph was me climbing in a dust storm. That's how bad it gets at times. I've been in dust storms where visibility has been down to feet, probably 10 feet if that. And because I was young and stupid at the time, or maybe not young, but still stupid, my friends and I, we would get on our bikes and go riding in dust storms as fast as we could. That is really stupid and a very, very easy way to end up in the med tent or worse. So do exercise appropriate caution. However, I love dust storms. When there's a dust storm going on, I'll pull out a bottle of whiskey and I'll go to our bar and I'll invite everybody who walks by to come in and have a conversation. And you just learn to cover your drink, cover it again, and it's a lot of fun, and you'll meet people that you'd never met before and will never meet again, and possibly not recognize even if you did. The last thing I want to cover is readjusting to the default world. And I kid you not, I cannot say this enough, don't make any life-changing decisions at or immediately after you come back, because you might come back thinking the world is a la-la land, you don't need money, you're going to quit your job and live in a utopian society where we give everything away. Don't do it, please. Don't upend your life and close down, turn in your notice and decide to move to Seattle because you met this dusty ass hippie and fell in love on the playa, and your life would be meaningless without him or her. And so you're going to upend your life here and move. Don't do it. Let it play out. Let reality set in. And live Burning Man life outside of Burning Man. That's fine. But don't make any life-changing decisions. I have never suffered this. I'm fortunate. But people sometimes get depressed when they come back. Don't try to fight it alone. Reach out to your campmates. Reach out to your friends. Reach out for professional help if you need. Danny's got a hand up. Reach out to Danny anytime. Reach out to me. Reach out to your friends and family. Don't try to ride it out alone. It can hit hard. We do have an event in Arizona. Arizona has a thriving burner community, and we have our AZ decompression event in the middle of October. It's in about an hour outside of Tucson. Awesome piece of land near Wilcox. There's a link right there. There'll be ticket information and stuff like that that'll come up. So that's shortly after the burn. So if you want to carry on that lovely feeling, go on down to AZ decompression. If you don't make it out to Playa this year, get a little bit of Burning Man by going to the regional event. That's it.
Yes, you come.
I am now, no, my conversation's still going on here. I'm open for questions. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for staying. Does anyone have any questions? Just unmute yourself and ask away.
I've got one, Ruby. I was planning on staying just outside of Vegas on my way to and from Burn, and giving myself the bulk of the driving on the Saturday before Burn starts, obviously, and Monday after Burn. Do you think that that's a little bit too far of a stretch to drive?
It is a long stretch. It's also that middle of nowhere stretch on the 93, 95, where it's 2-lane roads and nothingness on both sides. I would not, if you can go further, it would be better. What's that town that has the Death Valley turnoff? That's where a lot of burners used to stop there. But I think is it Tonopah with the Clown Motel?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the middle of the ride.
Okay,
Now,
maybe
it
I'll
all-
stop there then, because
Yeah.
I work remotely on Tuesday, luckily, so I have an extra day
Oh,
to
nice.
recoup. But and I just want to make sure, like, if I have a full day of driving on Monday, it theoretically shouldn't be hard to get to Vegas, but I also don't want to push my luck. So if you think that splitting the drive up a little more evenly would be
Yeah.
better, then I might do that.
Yeah. The other thing, if you can, on your way out, is find a truck stop and have a shower, or an RV park where you can pay them and have a shower. Night and day difference. Just first you feel 100 times better, but it'll also wake you up for that drive. And then map your route out and decide when you need to stop and sleep. You start drifting, if you start dozing, do it. Audiobooks are your friend. Find some good audiobooks. And the only word of caution with audiobook is the reader makes the experience. The person who reads like the Harry Potter books is absolutely amazing. If you're a sci-fi person, I highly recommend The Expanse. But if you get a good audiobook, you're listening to that audiobook and that's keeping you awake. And so that loud music when you need it, all that good stuff. Other questions?
Hey, Ruby, thank you so much for doing this and going through all this. I've taken some great notes. And one thing that I'm dealing with right now is I got a ticket through someone else and just kind of in my naivety thought that came with a car pass that I don't have.
Mhm.
And I have signed up with the STEP program. I guess I'm on a list to get that. Is that are we feeling good about that coming through, or is there other alternative
Reach
options?
out, get on every Facebook page you can with cash in hand, and talk to Danny.
Yeah.
Danny might know.
Get on my list. I don't think I only have 2 or 3 people that just need vehicle passes at this point, and those are starting to pop up more now because everybody's figuring out their carpool situations. So message me on Facebook or Instagram, whichever, and I'll get you on my list. So that way, if something comes up, I'll send someone your way.
Okay, thank you.
Danny, you want to
another-
post your contact in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll do that right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then one other thing for fun, you went over a lot of really great stuff about necessities and things you're going to definitely want to have. In all of your experiences, is there any like unnecessary thing that you have figured out that you brought that is just like really made your trip just wonderful?
You got a couple of hours? Because no. I'll tell you the one thing that the godsend for me, and I thought I was an absolute freaking genius when I came up with it, is Home Depot weed sprayer thingies. You know, those pump sprayers. Bought a new one, flushed out the plastic smell out of it, put clean water in it, and that's my mister, my teeth brusher, face washer, dishwashing water, everything. You can even shower with it, just spritzing yourself down with it. Absolute godsend to have that. It sips water and it does a world of a difference. And in the daytime when it's warm and you're seated outside, you just spritz yourself down and it just brings your body temperature down immediately. So that's one thing. It's probably a given, but baby wipes are your friend. Unscented baby wipes. Do not get that skanky, chemically smelling scented baby smell. No, unscented baby wipes. At least 2 packets. And what I do is I pour drinking water into it to make them wetter, because that, like, when I come back in, so I'm a creature of habit. You'll find me going to that shower at sundown every day. My friends joke about the fact that if they need to find me, they need to show up at the camp around 6 o'clock, and I'll be walking to or back from the shower. But you'll shower and there'll be a dust storm immediately thereafter. When I get back to bed at night, I'll just quickly wipe down that dust and stuff from myself, and it's night and day difference. The baby wipes are your friend. Absolutely have those.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Hey, Ruby.
Yep.
You talked about the easy up and like the shade structure situation. We were planning on doing an easy up and tying it down, but would you recommend something else over the easy up, or like could we still do it with the easy up?
You can do it as long as it's a sturdy enough easy up. You can do it. What I've seen done is you take ratcheting tie downs and you put them on the 4 corners, and that's a solid pull in 4 different directions to add rigidity to the 4 legs that are just spindly little things there. It's not going to save you if we get a microburst like we did, but it'll probably withstand most anything that happens. If you can anchor it to vehicles that are nearby, that'll help. Just be careful and make sure that the Easy Up is well anchored to the ground, because you don't want it flying around and smashing into somebody's car or somebody or their tent or whatever it is. So an Easy Up will work, and it's, yeah, it just takes a little bit more. The shade structures that tend to survive the most are, where is it? And you'll see a lot of these shade intensity. Yeah, here we go. These things, you can buy these. Boy, there's a place on the west side that sells the connectors, and these are EMT poles. I stick straight rebar into the ground, and then you can see the ratcheting tie downs anchor it to the Playa. And you stretch shade cloth or tarp over the top of it. Though at this stage in the game, it might be a little late to try and get this kind of setup going. Costco carports are also awesome. They just weigh a ton. They're super bulky, but they do survive the Playa winds. You still anchor it down. You anchor it down with rebar or long lag bolts, and not just on the feet, but outriggers. And what we do with the tie downs that go out is you hit your rebar or your lag bolts into the ground at an angle, and you hook your ratcheting tie down to it, and then you crank it tight. And then after a few hours or the first strong wind that comes through, crank it down a little more to catch any slack that had built up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ruby. Appreciate all that.
You're welcome. Any other questions, folks?
Hey, Ruby, I have a few questions.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Just
Pleasure.
wealth of knowledge, unbelievable. My tickets are at will call. I have a guest pass or a vehicle pass. You have any tips for getting at will call or anything to know about that?
Not really. You saw the photograph of the line of like 6 or 10 lanes of traffic or whatever coming in. No matter which lane you come in at, will call is typically on the right-hand side just before tickets. And when you get to the first guy who's standing there, they'll say, hey, anybody got will call tickets? And they'll shunt you off to the side. There's a parking lot. You park and you go in and get your tickets. If you're in a group traveling together and one person has a will call ticket, the whole vehicle has to go. They don't want you walking to will call, because they've had problems with people leaving their vehicle in line, walking to will call, and then losing their vehicle, and their buddies go through and drive into, and this one person is standing there, ticket in hand, and vehicle's gone. So they want you in your entire vehicle to pull off. There have been bad years. They've really improved that process. Last time, one of my people in the RV with me had a will call ticket, and it was super quick. The lines were efficient. They got through really nicely.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I'm picking up an RV in Moreno Valley, so I have the option of almost going through Death Valley or going around out near Sacramento. Do you have any tips on that? I was a little weary, obviously, driving through Death Valley in the heat, but
yeah, that's the problem. And also they've had some major road issues with roads getting washed away in Death Valley. So you definitely want to maybe call National Park Service and find out about that. Google does a pretty decent job when roads are closed to let us know, but I wouldn't depend on that, because you go the wrong way and it's a lot of double back you got to do, and with gas being the price it is, you don't want to be doing that.
yeah, I'm totally happy just taking the longer way for a few hours if I have to.
Yeah.
Another question about the RV. You mentioned kind of dust proofing and taping. I am an RV virgin as well as a Burning Man virgin. Should be a wonderful combination. Yeah, thank you. Very excited. I hear the painter's tape around the windows. Obviously the vents on top. I'm hoping like a spoiled person to be running my AC sometimes. Any tips on this? Don't want to be returning this RV back in bad condition.
So another thing we do is, so we leave on Saturday morning. On Friday, we meet up, Friday evening, we meet up, and we do as much as we can to prep that RV. Sheets, and we cover every seating surface, stuff like that. Things like the if it's got a TV and stuff like that, we'll put an old t-shirt over it, cover all those things up, because we're not going to use any of that stuff. If you've got some old carpet, you lay that old carpet down on all the walking surfaces of your vehicle, and whoever you're sharing your RV with, y'all come to an agreement that you take your shoes off, and you either have a bin outside the RV, or just on the steps of the RV, you take all your shoes off and you leave them there, and you walk in barefooted. That'll reduce the amount of dust you're traipsing through. Never leave that damn door open. Close it, even if you're walking to your buddy's tent, which is 50 yards away. Close that door whenever you're walking out. If you're seated outside and it's pristine and clear, that's fine. One thing about Camp Walter is what we do is we ask people not to turn on and off their ACs, just leave them running, because we have a camp generator, and if everybody would have their ACs off, and then at 9 o'clock when it starts to get hot, everybody flips it on at the same time, that poor old Jenny's going to say nope, because that initial start of an AC is what takes the most load. So yeah.
So just keep it running.
Yeah, Elvis will probably give you the whole spiel when we get there, but historically that's how we've done it. Just set your AC at whatever temperature and let it run.
Same thing with the freezer and refrigerator, or should I just not plan on using that?
I would. You're paying for that electricity. It's a 30 amp hookup that you're getting for your RV. It'll run just fine.
Right. The last question was water. How much do you bring, and how much do you suggest we bring? And is there anywhere, God forbid, just like you forgot our water on the way up, is there anywhere that you suggest getting it, or just some questions around that?
Sure. So you don't want to be driving from wherever you're picking up the RV with a full water tank. You're just hauling, 8 pounds per gallon is what water weighs. So fill up enough so that you don't, you can use the toilet and brush your teeth and stuff. I assume you're riding with people, you're not driving alone.
Yeah, I've got my wife with me.
Okay, so you'll be sharing the driving, whatever. It'll be nice to have some water in the RV to just get stuff done on your way. But depending on which route you take, find an RV park that's closer to Burning Man, and stop there, do your last dump of your black and gray water. You should be given a walkthrough with the RV, but when you drain the gray and black, so gray water is your sink water and your and stuff like that. The black water is toilet water, and there are 2 separate tanks under the RV. Once you drain that stuff out, there is some sort of puck of chemicals that you drop into the tank before you can start using it again. So make sure you have some of those from whoever you're renting the RV from, or find out where you need to buy them. But like I said, fill up some water before you leave, but somewhere closer to Burning Man, top up your tanks. Drinking water, like I said, I budget 2 gallons a day. That's a lot, but I'd much rather be hydrated than sick. And then for me, I have no hair to worry about, so I can shower on about 1 gallon and change with a solar shower bag. So I budget my Sunday through Sunday showers accordingly and bring shower water for that.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Other questions?
Hi, my name is Marissa, and Danny actually invited me to come watch this. I'm a first-time burner this year, and I'm going to be camping with Bumblepuss. So you're giving a lot of really awesome information. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You may not be able to help me with this question, but maybe some of the people with hair could. What do you guys do with it? I have a lot of it, and I'm worried about how it's just going to affect my hair over the week.
I got
Danny.
this, Ruby. I got this one. So, in the past, the common things that you'll see out there is braids. You can get fake dreads on Etsy and braid them into your hair. Anything that you can do to secure your hair so that it doesn't get knotted is a plus. But about halfway through the week, you know, it's probably inevitable that you're going to have one giant knot. And you just kind of have to expect that will happen. So just get really creative with like an updo that like a top knot and just be like, okay with the fact that it's going to be like that for the rest of the week. But the good news is that the dust being so dry, your hair won't look as oily. So, you know, showers aren't as mandatory, which is nice. But really, I would say any kind of braids that you can do would be beneficial. I'm getting mine braided in with like extensions that are colorful. So you can make it really fun while making it functional.
Okay. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. I do want to ask also, I am actually driving, I live in Missouri, so I am taking myself all the way to Nevada. I am so stoked and I'm planning it all out. I am giving myself 3 days there and back.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that I have rest time, but I was curious if you guys knew of any good stops along the way through, I don't know, Wyoming, and then Utah, and then, you know, down through to Nevada to Reno.
I don't have any, I can't help you with the drive there. Just wanted to let everyone know that coming from the east, we don't actually go through Reno. We go through coming up from Arizona, we go to Fallon, and the last town we hit is Fernley, Nevada. And right at the Fernley, I mean, we're talking one horse town here. Fernley at the I-80, that's where we hit the 443, which is the last road that we take up to Burning Man. There's a Love's and a Pilot gas station there. That's typically the last burner stop. They've got food, they got a whole bunch of stuff. But there's also a Walmart right off the freeway in Fernley. That'll be a good last minute stop. It's one of those like super monster ones. They have a whole burner aisle with like cases and cases of water and everything else. So, and stuff that you've forgotten, the last minute stuff that you've forgotten. So, try not to carry stuff like the perishables and things like that, and just stop by at that last Walmart and get whatever you need. Yeah.
Well, I have one more question, and it's really just how to keep up your energy through the week. I know obviously hydrating is super important. I've heard, you know, the meltdowns happen, taking some time just to like rest. But how do you guys suggest keeping up your energy through the week?
I say pace yourself. I screw this up every year, and I will go balls out on one night. Usually it's one of the first few nights because I'm like, man, I'm home, yay, and like go all night or something, and the next day I'll be dead. And extremely hungover. But pace yourself is one thing. Give yourself the downtime. I mean, thank you. Give yourself downtime because this place is so, there's so much stimulation. It overwhelms a lot of people. And I never realized this because I kind of rolled into it. It was 10,000 people when I first went, or less, and I watched it grow, and so it was a very gradual change for me. But going into it now as a newbie and seeing 80,000 people and more lights than you've ever seen in one place anywhere, and sound and different music and stuff like that. Find time for yourself. Make time for yourself. Do you by any chance have an air conditioner or a way to sleep during the day?
So my camp is running completely on solar. So I
Okay.
do have an extension cord. I'm gonna bring some fans.
Okay, yeah. Do you have a tent then?
So yeah, I'm bringing a tent, but I'm also bringing a shade structure. I have a 12 by 20-foot canopy that has zipped walls.
Oh, the Costco carport or something?
It's similar, but
Okay.
it's all very secured together. So I
Good.
can have one door and everything else will be all stuck together.
That's really cool. And between that and the fans, consider if you don't have a swamp cooler, making a let's see,
YouTube.
Asha, please. I can't concentrate.
Right.
Homer bucket swamp cooler. Go to bed.
Mommy said I can stay up until she said shower.
No, off you go.
Bucks, really quickly, message me your number. I have a VP for you
Ever
right
meet
now.
someone, but
Gotta watch the ad.
Gotta watch the ad. Okay, so this is a super easy thing. It took me about 30 minutes to make, but you drill out a Homer bucket. You buy these from Home Depot and you just need to get the right size. And you stick a fan on top of it. And you cut the lid and you mount the fan on top of it. It pushes the air in. You can put water in there. If you can put some ice cubes in there, it becomes really nice and cold. And it is pretty cool. It works really well if you don't have an air conditioner.
Nice.
So the Homer Bucket Swamp Cooler is definitely something to consider if you can make one. And you know, it's kind of super light, and you can pack stuff in that bucket on your way there. So it's pretty easy.
Okay, cool.
Am I
Thank you.
still sharing my screen? You guys could watch it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yeah, that might be something to consider. Yeah. Other questions? Jess,
how's it going,
Hey.
Ruby?
hey darling, have you found an RV?
I know we did. I'm so excited that we found one. It's finally coming together at game time. I want to, do you know anything about a camp meeting?
About a what?
Camp meeting?
No. We typically will have one on Monday and then probably one later on in the week. When are y'all getting in?
We're hoping to come in Saturday evening-ish.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Friday or Saturday evening. Just we're driving from, we got a place in Eugene, Oregon. So we're gonna drive out from there and just all take turns driving and try to plow through.
So you think we have it rough? Jess and her friends are flying in from Canada, renting an RV, buying all this stuff, and then driving down to the bun. That's dedication right there. And
I've been trying to de-moop all my stuff here so I don't have to do it in the States.
All right, well, that's awesome.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
super stoked that you found, and then they had their RV rental cancel on them at the last minute and
Yeah,
scrambled to find another one.
but it's just gonna make it that much sweeter.
There you go.
Thank you, Ruby.
You're welcome. Any other questions, folks?
I have one more.
Sure.
Since Danny just brought up that her e-bike just came in. I haven't found something that's super clear about what's considered a motorized vehicle and what isn't. Like, are electric assisted bikes a thing? What's the line that considers something a dirt bike or electric dirt bike?
If it's got pedals on it, that's usually so an electric motorcycle would not qualify, but an e-bike the e-bikes are really popular. Now, there are people who haul ass across the playa on their e-bikes. That's rude and obnoxious, and also you could get a ticket. So just if you're bringing an e-bike, ride the speed limit and make sure you bring a good lock and lock it up. But e-bikes are definitely popular. Scooters also seem to be allowed. In other words, ones that you don't stand on, that don't have a seat. That's how they kind of differentiate it from being an electric motorcycle versus a scooter. Unfortunately, people ride some of those really noisy two-stroke old school ones also. I don't think those are legal, but I've seen people riding them. The e-scooters, I see more of them out there. Danny, do you know anything? Have you all heard anything as to what is and isn't allowed on that part?
I really am not super familiar. So the bike that I linked in the comments, I got it from Costco. I haven't tried it yet, but I think that on the reviews that I was watching online, it has 15 miles without pedal assist, 30 miles with pedal assist. Make sure that if you get an e-bike, you get one that has pedals so that if it dies, you're not stranded. And this one's pretty cool. It's small enough and it folds up so you can fit it in a car. So, and it's only $400. So that's why I picked it. I've not tried it, but I was like, for $300, $400, I think that's worth a try for 1 year. Why not?
Sure.
And it's Costco, so if it dies on you and completely explodes, you just take it back to them.
Exactly. So I just got it delivered because they didn't have any on site in any of the Arizona stores. So if you want to order it, it comes fast if you do order it online. I think I bought mine on Saturday and it's already here. But you know, you're running out of time, so pick something quick if you're gonna get it.
And I cannot state this enough. If you're taking something out of the playa, set it up and test it in Arizona, not on playa. Even your tent that you've been using for years, I've had friends take their tents out and they've left their tent poles behind. So yeah, make sure you test everything here before you head out. Other questions? All right, I think we're good. Hey, thank you for hanging out and lovely chatting. And I guess ruby@azburners.org is my email. If you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out or find me on Facebook. I'm usually pretty easy to find on Facebook because there aren't that many Rubies, RUVI, out there. And so as soon as I hit end call, you're going to remember a question. Don't hesitate to reach out. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right.
Bye.
Stop the recording. Here we
Bye,
go.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.